Premier of Nevis, Mark Brantley, is pushing back against suggestions of a conflict of interest in relation to the proposed Special Economic Zone project on the island. At his most recent press conference, the Premier was asked by SKN Newsline about concerns raised over his wife's role as the realtor for private lands sales linked to the project. Brantley dismissed the claims, saying her involvement does not amount to a conflict of interest.
My wife was hired by this proposed investor. I think the name is South Nevis Limited. And my wife, I should point out, has been a licensed realtor for 20 years. So she was conducting her real estate business even before I got into politics. She was hired by these people. And why was she hired by them? Because, as I said, there were over 200 landowners in the area. And she was asked, could you find out who owns, and approach them and ask if they're willing to sell. And that is what she and a big team of people here, people overseas, have been working on. Finding Andre Huey owns 10 acres. How do I get in touch with Mr. Huey? Call him. If, for example, in some cases, people are deceased, who's in charge of the estate? Can you call them? And that is what the work that she has been doing. Some have said yay, like Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge. Some have said nay in relation to their land. That is their right. Now they've raised this thing and said, oh, your wife, because it's your premier's wife, there's a conflict. And I'm saying, but my wife is not engaged in any government activity. There's no government land that is selling that she is involved with. And certainly she has a right, like any realtor on the island, to ask people to buy or sell property. That's her job. That's what she does. And so I have asked the question, is it that we're now saying, Mr. Huey, that we want a new standard in the country where anybody associated with a public official cannot have any private business?
The opposition Nevis Reformation Party, the NRP, has been vocal in its criticisms of the project. NRP's Dr. Patricia Bartlett recently renewed those concerns during a radio appearance, arguing that the Premier's wife's role raises ethical questions.
They're happening a little too frequently for us, because that is not the first time an investor would have gone, they have too easier access to the Premier. And the realtor is always involved in some way, not necessarily as a realtor, because there's one point when she was involved as in the Fidelity Trust thing. I mean, if you remember that, some insurance-related matter. I don't know how to be, an insurance person. But, these kind of things get all mixed up. And so they have the authority and they could probe. They have the investigative arm of them that they could engage. And so we can get to the bottom of this issue as to where the genesis of the thing is, whether it started on the left side of the pillow or it started on the right side of the pillow. But the point is that we have had a convergence of the activities of the realtor, the firm, and the Premier, and that is not a good look. Because when we get to the code of conduct, at least being able to examine that, we would see that they have specific guidelines in teaching people and instructing public servants as to how you need to behave and navigate around these kind of issues that would put you in jeopardy as it relates to the offenses and stuff like that.
The debate comes in the wake of the Special Sustainability Zones Authorization Act 2025, which was passed in August. The law has faced heavy criticisms from the NRP, which has called for its repeal, saying it fails to protect the patrimony of Nevisians. Andre Huey, SKN Newsline.